Alright guys, let's start off with something simple. Let's do some AND and OR circuits with our Siemens Step 7 1200. So we're going to open up our TAA portal. I got the version 14. Wait for this bad boy to open up. There we go. So let's see, it looks like I've been working on this one. So let's create a new project. So I'm going to just walk through the steps in order to talk to your PLC, same as we did in the previous video. Let's do it one more time. Then we can save it as a generic, base program. Then we can open up that base program from there and do all of our PLC logic with everything already set up to talk to that individual PLC. So we'll just call it project 2 for now. We'll hit create. So it takes a little bit of time as it's creating this project. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to configure a device. We're going to add a new device. Okay, there's our step 7s for our controllers here. And all these various CPUs that are available. But again, we're just going to do this unspecified CPU. And we're just going to open this up and grab this guy, this generic CPU. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit add. And you'll notice over here it says that it's going to next open up the device view. Okay, there we go. So we have a generic PLC here, but it doesn't say anything about it. It doesn't look like the one that we have in front of us. So we're going to hit detect. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use this setting right here, PNIE. I'm using the Surface Pro 4, so I'm going to use the Surface Ethernet adapter. And we're going to tone out by starting the search and see if there's anything connected up to the network. So it's searching right now. It's found my PLC 192.168.2.10. Again, if you're just doing this in the beginning, it may not have the IP address yet. Okay, so everything's done now. In order to just double check, this is a really cool feature, because if you have a number of PLCs and you want to make sure that you are talking to the correct PLC, you can actually press this and flash the LED here. So let's do that. So I'm going to hit this button right here. And then you'll see that right here, these lights right here flash on my PLC now. Cool, eh? So if you had a number of PLCs, this would tell you exactly which PLC you're selecting. Excellent. Okay, so that's the one we need to download. So we're going to deselect that. And then we're going to select this PLC and then detect it. Beauty. So now we're in the device view. And again, if we just double click on this PLC, then it should come up with the information here. There we go. And let's see, let's go to Ethernet addresses, and we'll just scroll down here. And there's my IP address for this particular PLC, 192.168.2.10, and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Okay, looks good. Everything's cool, so let's move on to our next point. Another way to double check the IP address is to go to here, double click on the Ethernet symbol here, and it will bring this up, right? So let's drop this down. Let's double click on this guy again. There we go. So that brings up our Ethernet address right below here as well. Nice. Okay, so let's start in on our program now, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out of the this window right here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to float this guy right here. So if you hover over this one right here, it says float. So I'm going to press that. I need to see this PLC a little bit more, so let's zoom in and let's just go right here and let's go to 400%. Okay, and then I want to compress this window a touch. There we go. And then let's see if we can just move her over. There we go. So we can see the inputs and outputs on our PLC. Beauty. I'm going to move that bad boy just over here. Okay, and then we're going to come over here to program blocks. We're going to open up this menu here, and we're going to go to the main OB1. I couldn't figure out what OB1 stood for. It stands for organizational block number 1. All right, let's move this out of the way. Okay, and let's start bringing in our circuit here. So we're going to do just some simple circuits here. We'll do an AND circuit and an OR circuit. So we'll start off with our first one, and we'll grab an XIC, and let's see, what do they call this guy right here? So let's grab it. Just hovering over it, just seeing whether it, here, let's hit undo here. Where do you find undo? Okay. Just looking to see, sometimes, there we go. So they call this a normally open contact. So I'm going to call this an examinative closed contact, just the same as the Allen Bradley. But in the Tweedo Suite and in the Siemens, they will be calling it a normally open contact. I'm going to call it an examinative closed. So we're going to grab an examinative closed. We're going to bring it down until we see green. Then we'll drop that guy in. We're going to do a series circuit first. So we'll have 2 XIC instructions, or 2 normally open instructions, and then we'll have our output here, and I believe if I just click on the output, it'll add it to the right hand side. Again, you want to have the output as the last thing in your PLC program. Okay, now I can address this guy out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these guys right here. So I'm going to grab this guy, bring it over until I see green, and let go. There we go. And as soon as I do that, I can now double click on this tag number 1. So I'm double left clicking, and I'm going to label that as my, let's do push button number 1. Come on. Beautiful. And you can see that changes right away to push button number 1. Okay, what's frustrating is that on this next one, if I want to label this guy push button number 2 and I double left click on it, nothing happens whatsoever. So you have to bring this into your program. There has to be a reference in the program here so that you can actually change the label now. So I'm going to grab this guy, bring it over here until I see green, and let it go. And at that point, I should be able to double left click on this tag, and I can call this now push button number 2. Beautiful. Okay, so it's push button number 1, button number 1, push button number 2, push button number 2. Beautiful. And then I'm going to use this as my output. So let's see if I can just label this Q0.0 and hit enter. There we go. And it already puts the percentage there. So on the Tweedo C programming, you have to put in the percentage, and otherwise it tells you it's the wrong address. With the Siemens, you can just put Q0.0 and it will tag it with the percentage here prior to the Q. Okay, now I'm going to just label this guy as my output number 1. Beautiful, hit OK, and as soon as I do that, then this changes on my output side. So we're starting with output 0, and then we'll use output number 1, 0.1 on our next output for our next rung. Okay, we're going to put in an OR circuit. So let's put in another rung here. So we're going to open a branch here, drop that guy in there, and we're going to put an XIC. And in parallel with that, so where are we going to put that? Right here. Okay, we'll put another XIC. Beautiful. Then let's see, how do we bring this up there? Okay, so maybe we use, what's this here? Close the branch. Okay, so right here we're going to close the branch. Beautiful. Okay, and at the end here we're going to put an output. So I'm going to go right here and put it, no, that's not correct. Okay, so let's go up here, hit undo. Okay, what about hovering here and then putting the output? Ah, that's much better. Excellent. Okay. At that point, let's do some different inputs here. So again, I can just double left click on here. I can put input. What are we at? 0.2 and hit enter. Okay, and again, it labels this appropriately. And then I can also grab this and drag it over and drop it in where I see green. Nice. Okay, so this guy we're going to label as push button number 3. Okay, hit OK. And this guy right here we're going to label as push button number 4. Beautiful. Okay, if I double click on this guy, let's see. Okay, so I'm right clicking there. And if I go to properties, so I right click on PB4 and then I'm going down to properties. And at that point, I can also change the name down here. Okay, so there's a number of ways you can do this. Let's see what happens if I just double click on something. If I double click on it, I can change the name and I can scroll through all of my inputs and outputs there as well. Very cool, okay? So that's kind of like your I/O table that we had earlier on the Allen Bradley. Okay, so we got push button 3 and push button number 4, and let's put a different output. So let's grab this bad boy right here and drop it in. And again, we're going to, here, let's right click on this guy, go to properties, and we're on Q0.1, and for that guy, we're going to label that as output number 1. Why don't we let output number 2? Come on, let's work. Output, oh, weird. For some reason, that's not working for me. That should work for me, but it's not. All right, well, let's do this. Beautiful. Okay, so we've got an AND circuit here. I have to hit this push button and I have to hit this push button in order for this output to be true. And over here, I can hit this push button number 3, or I can hit push button number 4. Either one of these is going to provide continuity, logic continuity, over to my output number 2. Beautiful. Okay, let's go here, and you can go to compile. Let's do that just to make sure everything's cool. So we'll hit left click on compile. It's double checking everything. It looks like I have 0 errors and 0 warnings. Beautiful. Next thing I'm going to do is then download to the device. So just hovering over this bad boy right here, left clicking on that guy. Okay, CPU contains changes that cannot automatically be synchronized. Okay, I've had this happen before, and hopefully it doesn't screw that up. Okay, we'll continue without synchronization. Okay, the different project versions in the configure device and the target device online. Okay, and here, let's stop everything from going. Looks good. Let's load this onto the PLC, and hopefully this works. Okay, so we're going to start everything. So we'll hit finish here. Okay, and at that point, we're going to go online. So we can go to online, or we can go straight to monitor, but let's go online first. I believe if you hit monitoring, it turns it online as well. Okay, so now we're online. We have checkboxes here for our PLC, and now I'm going to monitor that PLC. Excellent. Okay, so at that point, I have logic continuity to push button number 1. I'm going to close push button number 1. Okay, so there's that issue. I don't know what I did wrong. Remember, it had different things on the PLC and the program. I've screwed something up there because I'm changing my switch, but it's not being seen on my program. So let me just pause for a minute. Let me go back and try to reload the program into the PLC, because I've missed something on all my steps there. Okay, so give me a few seconds. Okay, so I've gone back over everything, all the steps, in order to get my PLC talking to my TIA portal here. I'm going to change the state of this input right here and see if it changes state. Nothing. So I'm online right now, right? I'm in the monitoring mode, but changing of the states of my inputs is not changing whatsoever. So I may be a donkey. I may have missed a step or something, but I've gone through and double checked everything. I'm obviously talking to my PLC, right? I'm like, if I go over here, I can see that the Ethernet address is what I had before. I mean, everything seems cool. And a quick little Google search here. I wonder if it's not me. I mean, we always want to blame somebody else. But here it says TIA portal version 14 online monitoring problem. And this is from 2017. Having an issue with the TIA portal. It says, I know it must be as the program is running, but I don't get the state of the bits or anything showing in a different color. And that's my issue right now as well, is that if I go here, nothing's changing whatsoever. So in this thread, there's no real help as to how to fix this issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the computer off, turn it back on again, and see whether, going through the same steps, whether I get everything rocking and rolling again. So again, I may be missing something, or there may be a software issue, some glitches that come in, or it's the fact that my RAM is too small for this program. Okay, let me turn this off, and then we'll go through the same steps and see if we can start talking with it. This was supposed to be a nice, easy video on AND and OR circuits, but a little bit of troubleshooting isn't all that bad either. So give me a few seconds. Let me start the computer back up again. Okay, so turn the computer off, turn it back on, try it again, and was not able to talk to the PLC. And then kept looking for, portal, TIA portal monitoring not working. It kept saying that I had some issues here. So I looked up videos here. Nothing's coming up whatsoever. So it was basically telling me that the offline and online versions of my program were different. And then I remembered that last night I was working with the Factory I/O program. The Factory I/O program takes away the hardwired inputs and allows the software to now control my inputs. So I went back to my documentation here for setting up the S7 1200 and then scrolled down. And one of the things that I had changed was that I had changed the configuration. So if I go up here, I had taken away I changed the access for the program. And if I scroll down here, I click this, permit access with PUT/GET communications from remote partner. So what was happening was that the PLC was still trying to access the software and not the hardwired inputs that I was trying to control. So scrolling down here, I hadn't made those changes, but I needed to make the software on my TIA portal the same as what was on my actual Step 7 1200, because my Step 7 1200 was looking for the software, whereas my program was looking for my hard inputs. So I needed to go to the device view. So I needed to go here to my device view. So right here, device configuration. I needed to double click on this guy. Sorry, right click on this guy. And then I needed to go here and download to device and just download my hardware configuration. As soon as I did that, then it took away that option that I had the night before. And now my PLC program that I have here and my PLC are ready to talk to each other. So hopefully that makes sense. It was some changes that I had made previously. I had clicked this on a previous download to the PLC. I had changed the hardware of the PLC. I needed to now revert back to my original state. So I had to go again to the device view, right? So I had to go here. I had to right click on this guy, go down to download to device and download the hardware configuration. Now I'm set to rock and roll, so I should be able to go back to my main OB1. Now I'm going to download the program to the PLC. Okay, it's saying that everything's the same, right? So it's just going to load up any small changes that I've made. We'll finish her off. And now finally we can go into monitoring mode. So I'm going to click on here, go to monitoring mode. That's going to drop me right online. And here we can see the green lines here. And the issue was that when I changed the state of push button number 1, it was not being seen because it was looking for the software, the Factory I/O, rather than this hardwired input. But lo and behold, I'll change push button 1. And it's working. Beautiful. So now we can finally get an AND circuit. I need this and this to be on. Once I turn those guys on, then I have the output turn on. If one turns off, then the output turns off. If push button 2 goes false, then the output turns off as well. Obviously, if both of them are false, then the output 0 turns off as well. If I hit both of them, push button 1 and push button 2, then the output turns on. Beautiful. I'm going to turn those guys off. And now you will see on the next line here for our OR circuit, if I turn on input number 2, then output number 2 should fire on. Excellent. Okay, turn that guy off, turns off my output. If I turn on this little push button right here, so again, I have little dip switches connected into my inputs. And if I input that 24 volts into my input number 3 by closing that contact, there we go, my output turns on. Beautiful. Okay, if either of them are on and I release number 3, it stays on. If I close number 3 and release number 2, output number 2 stays on as well. Beautiful. So now I can turn on this guy, or I can turn on this guy. Either one are going to turn on my output. Beautiful. Okay, so it was supposed to be a nice simple video on an AND circuit and an OR circuit, and then we went off the rails and I was not able to talk to my PLC. But cool little troubleshooting as well, in that you have to make sure that your offline and online versions are the same, and if you've made any hardware changes, then you need to change that by going back to your device view, right-clicking on this guy, and then download your hardware changes to that PLC. All right, guys, we'll stop there. Next video, let's see my checklist here. Next video is going to be on the 2-wire and the 3-wire, so keep going on the playlist. Thanks for your patience, guys. We'll see you on the next video.